So then when I saw Kang, I was 16 when I first met you at NHC. And I was like, oh, that's the style from the word. I didn't even know what it was. And Kang was so very generous. Like, I mean, he gave me the style, and he's the reason why I'm locking now. A couple years later, I came out to LA and I met Mr. Kleen. And yeah, I've been trying to get you guys together for so long. And you're both hairdressers, you're both barbers. So yeah, the two locking barbers. So gentlemen,
I'm actually a hairstylist. I do mostly female. Kang has the clipper things going, and he does good work. I've checked him out.
Strict barber. Thank you, man. Yeah. I've seen you work. Bless up. Same way. Coming same way as well. That's great. Yeah. So when I met Flexy, he's a ladies' man. That's what we've got to know first about Flexy. Okay, right. Every time I saw Flexy, there was ladies around him. Yeah. And I went into North Arts College. This was our college, and I see a group of girls gathered around someone. And I was like, okay, what's going on here? had to split through. And I see Flexy, right? He had his leg, holding his leg up, like straight up, just holding it. And he was looking good. I was like, wow, this dude. Who is this dude? And he come from a dancing background, right? So we hit it off straight away. We were just chatting, talking, and I was already locking by then, basic moves. So I wanted to show him, okay, you got that. Okay, I want to show you what I got. And he was like, wow, I've seen that. What is that? And that enthusiasm I see was the enthusiasm I had when I first saw the dance on screen. And we just kind of just like every time we hooked up, it was just showing moves, getting down, showing the beat, wasn't it? It's just the basics, really, the up, down, lock, point. And I was kind of explaining to Flexy at the time how important it was to keep that straight move. Don't ever be lazy with it. Don't be coming up from here, really be extravagant. Yeah.
Where did you get it from then, brother? Like, that was the thing that I was very interested. Where did you get your information from?
So I used to watch videos, music videos, loved music, right, and dancing. And I used to watch dancers, and I never knew what the name of the dance was, just like you, right? I called it American funk jazz dancing, but from, breakdance, the film, obviously, right? And Shabadoo, and everyone was popping, I remember, in the 80s in England, late 80s, and spinning on their head. No one, not a single soul, I know, was locking, right? But I was interested in that. And this is where we talk about when me and a fella called Ammo, Poppin' Ammo, we met. And he had a brother that was in a dance crew in the 80s, through the 80s. And he knew about the dance. And he said, look, it's called locking. So then it started from that. Yeah. It was gathering footage wherever we could. Soul Train, Xanadu. That's when we first saw,
Chain Reaction.
Sequence locking really tight. And we're like, yeah, that's cool, because you didn't see that much in breaking. So we kind of saw sequence choreography, but wow. And what we wanted to do, right, was to really get back into, do something that would change the stereotype of what we thought the world looked at us, right? This is the whole thing. It was to change a stereotype and to show the world that we can do other things apart from drive taxis and own corner shops, right? Because it was a big thing. Racism at the time in the 80s around here, in the 90s. Yeah, we went through it, okay? We went through it, and that was the driving force for it. And instead of getting violent.
So, one of my teachers, one of my original was Richie Rich. And when he spoke to Gemini, he said that they didn't get footage of Soul Train like we did when I was a kid and stuff like that. So when you said Soul Train and you were trying to, were you digging up footage on the internet?
Digging. No internet. This was all VHS, right? All VHS. Okay. So with a friend that we have. The friend that we have, Amo, his brother was closely linked to Jeffrey Daniels, right?
Okay.
And he had some VHS footage, and then we see it from
Oh,
that. So, and also, this is crazy. My dad was a television and VHS engineer, right? So my house was full of VHS,
oh.
and we would go through the films. And we had a neighbor who had relatives in Washington, and she would get to record this series or something. And the program before was Soul Train, and I got to saw some footage then. I was like, "Wow, what? Yeah, keep this." I recorded it. I kept it for myself, and I didn't know no names who they were. Uh, so it kind of come from that love of that, seeing that on the screen, and then knowing someone who else who knew it.
Yeah.
And working hard in front of a mirror with any footage we had
Wow.
to make sure we were tight. So straight away we were locking together in sequence, yeah,
Yeah.
right.
I
So we
love the
didn't even
fact
have.
that, yeah, I love the fact just hearing you speak about the hunger that you had to get the information. And I look at footage like this and it blows me away because I'm very familiar with that style. But Stewie alluded or let me know that people like Patrick Ellen and Jeffrey Daniels and Casper, that those guys were out there early on. So it was interesting to see how you guys come in contact with these people. I'm also impressed with the guy Jimmy Williams, how learned those guys are. You know what I mean? So when I look at footage like that, I'm like, how the hell did they get access to that style? It's always just like fascinating me. Because
Yeah,
unless you were really looking for it, you probably weren't going to find it. So
exactly,
kudos to you, man. I was really impressed with that.
exactly. Do you have to?
Do you mind if we
Yeah,
play this clip,
exactly.
gang?
Yeah, go for it. Go for it. Yeah.
I mean, it's been
The
so
next
long
video, I'm
since
going to tighten up.
I mean, this is your first time
The
back
energy
after
there.
30 years, and you still got it,
Yeah,
brother. I mean, like, I can't tell you how happy I was to see this, my man.
yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, I've got some stuff to work on, all right? And the next video I'm going to put out there, I'm going to sharpen up moves, and I'm sure I won't be happy with that, and then move on from there. But this is it, like you said, Flex. You had to throw something out right at a time, and let's work on it from there for me.
I mean, I'm sure Kenny will tell you, like none of us are happy with what we're doing. We're never like pleased with anything we ever do. But I mean, Kenny, say something, bro.
Yeah, it's 100%. So Kang, you know, the thing, like when I met Flexy was in a different situation. I actually was judging a contest and I see him in the contest. And the thing that I look for in locking is that people know what they're doing. I look for people that are clean and tight. But the other thing is there discomfort in their jazz? Do they have control? And when I see people just all over the place, you know, just throwing their arms around, I look for a technique. And what a lot of people assume is that people like me and you guys yourself is that, oh, we were born this way. We could just figure things out. And a lot of times I like to not share my successes, but my failures. I was not very good. I was hanging out with guys that were top of the food chain. They were savants. They could just pick things up. I wasn't like that. I really had to practice a lot and go by myself in the bathroom, in the mirror, and break things down. Because the reason why my name is Kleen, everybody thinks I'm clean because I'm bald headed. No, it's because my points and paces were really sloppy. And it was quite a challenge for me to get my lines and shapes clean. And so when I see your technique and the disciplines, it makes me so happy because sometimes I don't see that stuff anymore. The style that you do, I'm very familiar with the style. I would probably refer it as the guys like the Valley. And it was in the 80s, it was about groups. So Shabdu used to say, you guys lack like clones. And I didn't argue with them. But when I was doing routines, I was okay with looking like a clone. Mirror images of everybody that lined up. Because if your finger's off and you don't have that discipline or that technique, it reads really big in locking because it's about shapes and arms and body movement. And so a lot of times people make excuses, and it's like, no, a lock is a lock, a up is an up, a point is a point. And if you have your foundation, I can work with you and get things done real quick. So when I see what you do, you've trained. And it was good for me to go towards that style, is because I was a slow learner, and it was a very technical style. But for a group, stage, or television, it reads really good because the camera doesn't lie. So if you're lined up with guys that got good technique and you step in there, it's very revealing that you might need some more training, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
So when I look at you, yeah, sure, you're not going to be pleased with what you're doing, but you're never going to stop being that way, because I'm that way too.
Yeah, yeah, and that's good to hear. That's good to hear, because your style is great. Love it. Yeah, animated and everywhere. And
yeah.
like, yeah, bringing it back, I guess, to like when we were going to clubs now. So as far as we knew back then, so I'm bringing it back to when we first started, me and we didn't know no one doing the dance, no one at all. There was a club called Scratch in King's Cross, London, and we knew the guy holding the gig, and he come up to us and said, "Do you mind if we put lockers, like the group lockers, on our flyer, and you guys can get free entry, dance? You got to dance for us, do a show, and free beer." We were 15 years old, right? And we had our GCSE, we had like a big exam, maths exam the next day. And it was sponsored by Foster's Ice. It was like a big drink coming out. And we got there, we danced. And one fellow we bumped into, we remember, was, Ryan, Zia? Ryan?
Zia.
He's our friend on Facebook.
Big up, Zia.
So he's seen the flyer. And he's come up and he's like, "Wow, lockers, wow." And we were like, "Wow, someone knows what locking is." Right? And we're talking about it, we met, and it was that club, Scratch, every month, first Thursday of the month, we remember, it was getting massive. And then we started to see breakers like the Scarecrows. You were in that crew, weren't you, Stuart? You're telling me. And they were great, they were brilliant. And they were like breakers and poppers, weren't they? I don't remember a locker.
Yeah, me and
So
Steve.
you must have.
Well, Steve was another student of yours from NHC. When me and him hooked up, we were all like, "Oh yeah, you know Kang, I know Kang," and like Doug as well. So yeah, we come into the Scarecrows like as like lockers.
Yeah, I remember the Scarecrow. Yeah, and we used to battle against.
Are you guys already aware of the lockers, and you've seen footage of the lockers, or nothing yet?
I've not seen the lockers.
Only
Xanadu and LA City Rockers, the all right stuff. So like, yeah,
so you guys saw music videos.
Yeah, that was it for me.
So when I was watching, the Soul Train stuff, Amo's older brother, who was linked to Jeffrey Daniels, he was telling, we were getting words that people in that, the dancers in what you'll see, there were some of them are the original kind of, and from the lockers. And then we heard the name Don Campbell Lock come about a bit later, and then we realized the foundations then,
Right. Good. Okay.
That's how that comes about.
Because the first thing with me is that I was fortunate enough to be an age where we saw Soul Train, and of course we didn't have access to them. And so going back to what you were saying, the first face-to-face encounter was at a nightclub. I went to a club that you've probably heard about. It's iconic. It's called the Ozone. And it was like a teen club. The age was like 18 and up. And so some of my friends were getting in free, or we called that, like what you said, drinking beer, getting in free, having juice. And so some of my friends had juice there so I could get into the club free. And when I got on there, I saw all these amazing dancers. And the guys from the Valley, what I liked about them, that style, was that they popped and locked at a high level. And so Shabado had kind of came at me foul a little bit, saying, "Why are you going to learn from them guys?" And I was like, well, we didn't have access to the lockers. We weren't old enough to get in clubs at the time. I think I was approaching middle school, or not even a teenager yet. And so they went off and did like 88 shows. They were going all over the place, you know, introducing locking to the world. So it was the nightclub experience where I went to the Valley and I saw Chain Reaction and Dance Connection and Body Magic, and these guys were incredible. And they kind of do the style that you guys do. And so it was very technical, very clean, tight. And that was the era, the 80s, late 70s, 80s was about crews, about groups. So you didn't really freestyle. You did freestyle within your group, but everybody kind of looked the same. We looked like carbon copies of each other. So it's really interesting that I saw you guys gravitated to that style first, opposed from the Lockers. And I was really fascinated about that. But anyway, just point in that.
Oh, thank you. Oh, wow. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, there was no Lockers when we were going battling in this club, Scratch, and another club, great, in Covent Garden. You remember Flexy, Funkin' Pussy. That club was pumping. And when we were going to these clubs and we were like battling in these circles, we were the only Lockers coming out against poppers. We were coming out with routines and stuff. And now this club was getting big. Now there's a film crew that got there. It was a show on TV called the Close Show. It was like an iconic show back then. They turned up, and after that, the whole b-boy scene in the UK and in music videos blew up.
Yeah,
because no one was doing that.
What's the timeline on that? That'd be
late
early
90s.
80s?
This would be late 90s, right? Late 90s,
okay.
Late 90s. So I kind of pulled out late 97, 98. I got into my barbering. And it was just then where it really kind of like exploded in music videos. You're seeing UK breakers. I saw the Scarecrows. They had the George Michael contract, didn't they?
That's right. That's right.
And that's right. And they traveled the world with George Michael. And I remember like, oh, what's the battle? I'm cutting hair and like, I was battling against these guys. I know these people. And yeah, and it exploded from there. The whole thing did. And when it did, I was sitting back cutting hair, interested in his trade. But it was lovely to see how big it blew up. And then hearing what Stu had done, Flexy had done with the dance, I felt so like, wow, honored, proud. He's my soul brother, man. And watching his videos now, man, I take my hat off to Flexy for what he's done. And not also that.
You got in the club scene, you probably got some notoriety because you guys were good, and I can see that. I can see that you guys were in control, clean and tight. Did you guys? I'm curious. Was there any gigs available for you at that time to do like shows or maybe a commercial or videos? Was those opportunities there yet?
That's what we were going for. We wanted to go for TV. So when we were hearing that, the Close Show was getting there, we were regulars at the club anyway. And as far as I can remember, shows we started doing when we first started, it was in town. It was for community shows,
Okay.
Fairs for the council, and it was these kind of things. Fashion shows we were doing. So we were doing like what you call high school fashion shows. We would do gigs there. And then we managed to get in London, it was a place where the models, they all bought this franchise club. The Fashion Cafe. You remember the Fashion Cafe? It was a big thing. We had a show there for a week. We didn't get paid. But we were on stage for a week in London, and there were some big heads in the fashion industry that were watching us. So we were there, and we were getting recognized that way.
So people
free
were
shows as much as possible.
By just seeing
People start approaching us. Yeah. So the Funkin' Pussy, the guys that held that nightclub, that event, Hooch and everyone, they will seem to be the guys. They held the UK breakdance competition. It was them guys that held the kind of UK, and they would find work for us. Yeah. But it was difficult because breakdancing was blowing up, and we were Lockers. So a lot of the work and a lot of what people wanted to see at the time was spinning on the head, windmills, power moves. And the first competition, that video we performed, I remember like the breakers we were with, and they were great because they were all about the up rocking, keeping rooted. Power moves would come in, and we were just disappointed with the whole breaking scene, how it was just all about power moves.
Oh yeah.
Gymnastics. And we were like, there was no funk, there was no rhythm, there was no dance.
Right.
Right? And we were like, what is this all about? And then we realized, you know what, these are for the hipsters to see. They want to watch spinning on your head into that. And locking now, I think, is more appreciated, much more now. So I'm happy about that. I'm happy about that. So it was hard for us to get into other kind of shows because Hooch and his boys, and I don't blame them, they needed breakers, right? So yeah.
Well, let me piggyback on that. What I found about the B-boys when that started coming out, it was very, very popular. Like everybody was doing it, and then globally people started doing it. I was gonna retire probably because I was doing hair in the 90s. So I was probably going to retire. Like, I think the last thing I did was the year 2000. So I did a tour with Anthony Bam Bam Thomas, who you guys are filming with. And after that, I was going to.
I need to talk about that fella.
Sure.
Is that Bam Bam, right? Okay. Just to cut you off. Yeah. Sorry to cut you off, but no. Yeah, go on, carry on. But I just got to remind myself to bring him back in my conversation, please.
Well, we were both going to probably retire. And, you know, he was at that stage already doing choreography and stuff like that. And then the jams started coming out. They had the B-Boy Summit, freestyle session, jams like that. But they didn't have Lockin' and Poppin' until 2002, I believe. So I went to a couple of jams, and then Richie got a funk room where we could kind of display what we were doing. But I was going to retire until the jams happened. And that's sort of what kept me going and how I met people like Gemini and Flexy and Scrabble and cats like that who were carrying on. But I was kind of done because I was getting into becoming a hairstylist. And when the jam started happening, that pulled me right back into it. So it was kind of like, well, everybody's doing hip hop, everybody's doing b-boy. You know, what's the point of me being an old head out there? And then what I do like about breaking or b-boying is that it resurfaced popping and locking and put every back on the the map. And it was kind of that internet, like who knew the internet was going to be bigger than television? So all these other opportunities started happening. I started judging contests, and that's ultimately how I met Stewie. But yeah, give me Anthony Thomas. We can go there.
So I didn't know when I used to watch the All Right videos. Okay.
Yeah.
And we saw the LA Rockers, and I was blown away. Kleen, that style, that whole like two-tone shoes, sharp. I was like fresh. This is what we need. And for funny enough reasons, I think I saw that quite later on, kind of like while we were doing routines. But anyhow, I used to watch that video religiously, and it was only a few second clip of this one fella. I didn't know who. I saw the energy. Pop, 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 pop. There's the energy. Pop, pop, pop. Yeah, and I think he was wearing a checkered locker suit, right?
Jazzy J.
And he's bam, and he comes out. Damn, he's there. Yeah. And who is that? Who?
Jazzy
Who
J.
is that?
Jazzy James. And
Jazzy
he does
James.
That screw bop, and it looks like he's staying in midair for 3 seconds. Jazzy,
arms pointed out. Yeah.
Yeah, that's Jazzy, man.
So he's only in there for a second, isn't he? Right?
Yeah.
Not even that. Yeah.
Running.
Man, Jazzy, right? So I got confused. See, this I'm still learning the names. Okay, I thought that was a fella called Bam Bam. Bam, you're talking about.
Yeah.
So that's Jazzy Boogie. That's Jazzy, right?
Yeah.
Man, so the guys I was locking with at the time. When we first saw that, the next day, they went, "What happened to you? Where did this energy come from? Where did this?" And it was that little clip. Yeah. Because as you remember, we're talking about everything we were doing was choreography, bam, straight, making sure everything was straight. And I also felt like there's no character coming out, individual. Yeah. Right. Like you said, we can be clones there if you wanted to be, and everyone can be clones. And when I come out solo, that's what I went for. I went that little tiny, half a second clip, but not even that, was what I went for, and made me a much more powerful locker that that Flexy saw. That's what I saw. That was my inspiration. I didn't know whose name was that. And why is it not in the video a lot longer? This dude,
Well, that's what everybody
this part, this energy, this bang, 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 bang. Wow, that was what. And still today, that's still what, like, even though it's short, is up there as my OG. I wouldn't be there. So that's Jazzy.
And
Big up,
Jazzy,
man.
I'll share some inside stuff with you that probably people don't know. It's interesting that you bring that up, but it's funny. In I think it was 1999, 98, Greg Campbell Jr. had a class, and it probably was 99, and I was on tour at the time, but Greg Campbell Jr. had a class, and me, Flowmaster, my ex-girlfriend, Seven, whose studios was my dance group. We went and took his class. I don't really take class, but I take Greg Camelot. He was the teacher of the Lockers.
Oh, wow.
And so after the class, Flowmaster just thought he saw Jesus, and that was it. That's how he was going to lock. He's gonna do whatever Greg did. Me, I come from the double time, clean and tight Valley style stuff. But Greg, once you get to a certain level, as you guys know, probably with Stewie and you, is you take interest in people. And so when Greg when I met him and he had worked with the Rockers, he saw me doing stuff and he gave me some footage of a VHS of probably about over a couple handfuls of show with Carol Burnett, Dick Van Dyke, and all that stuff. And so when I was learning from Chain Reaction, Body Magic, Rockers, Dance Connection, all those people, it was about the groups, clean and tight, very together. But going back to what you're saying, that character and personality is what the Lockers had that we didn't. I needed to learn how to become an individual. So I got that from the Lockers. But the reason why Jazzy, he had already worked with, he had that VHS way before us and didn't show any of us. So we were still doing the Valley style double time. And we were like at his house and we put this, like, what is this? And he had all the Locker footage. He even had the Gershwin show from Canada, Carol Burnett, Big Van Dyke, Soul Train. He had all these shows. We're like, why did you show us this? So when I got my VHS, Anthony stole mine for a while before we were going on tour in the year 1999 to 2000. And he was like, we got to change our style. And I was like, man, Seven's just learning. Like, what are you doing? And he's like, we got to humble ourselves. So in terms of the Valley style, and I'm glad you brought this up, what I love about it is that in terms of routines, the double times and the combinations, I put it way up there. So just in terms of, it was great for stage and it was great for television. So when I will look at you guys on stage, you guys are very clean and tight. You should look like the mirror images. But when it comes to what you saw Jazzy doing, when you hit your solo, like, not a lot of people can articulate it. And I know you can just by the way you're talking. When you look at the Lockers, they were very together in their routines. But Fred Berry was very bouncy when he locked. Greg and Don were very sustained and power, strength. Fluky Luke and Shabadoo were very double time. That's where the Valley style was influenced from those cats. So as a unit, probably Camelot style at its best was it. But when it came to being an individual, I didn't get that from the Valley. I got that where Jazzy got it from and where you got it from the Lockers. How to look. When you solo, you have to look different than everybody in your group the way the Lockers did. But in terms of the combination and the cleanliness, tightness, I don't know if you saw Chain Reaction's documentary and Xanadu was in it. It was Lord of the Underground. I can't remember the name of it.
Underground Dance Masters.
Okay, so they slowed down them in Xanadu. And frame by frame, they were exact. And so a lot of these groups, when they're out there doing shows and stuff like that, probably the reason why you like that style is you can see blatantly. It's a very revealing style. If you're not together on stage, if you don't have your spacing, if you don't have your shapes lined up, if you're off, it's very revealing. So in terms of the routine, I will always love the Valley style. but I had to go more to the Campbell lock style, what Greg had, to become an individual. Just the fact that you can articulate that says a lot about you that I think a lot of today's generation might not understand. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah. I think that means like, when you see the character and also the real fun I see in the dance, not just being stick and just doing it because you've been told to. What I saw there was someone having, I don't want to spell my language, an effing good time with the dance.
Yeah. I like to
blowing
say
it away.
more than funk, because when you look at Chain Reaction, they were very funky in their routines and their solos. But what I
want to say more than funk. Yeah, I want to say more than funk. I want to say fire. I want to say like I see character fire because the funk is already there. Okay, that's the baseline.
But
all right,
the soul and the groove and
the soul and the groove.
Locking is when you can see the dance in the lock. That's
that's right.
That clip. And you look at his locking, you can see the dance in his locking. And to me, that is the highest level. That's right. So, I mean, I'm just so happy that you acknowledge that in a way that people have a hard time articulating it. You know what I mean? And so, kudos to you for recognizing that. That stuff you had to get from the Lockers because the Valley style is very technical. But in terms of the groove and the soul, that comes from the Lockers, man.
That's right. Yeah. That was the fire for me. That was the fire. Like you said, you corrected me. It was just more than funk. Funk's the bass. It was like you said, the dancer in the locker. You will see. It's the and I'm glad what you just said. It's the highest level because I see that as the highest level myself. I think there's no better than that for me. There's no better than that, and I can watch it all day long with that fire. And so that for me was the boom rocket up my back.
Greg would say that to us. He goes, "You guys got moves." Actually, a lot of the Valley guys added to the vocabulary with the toe locking. How when we did up, we did downs. Those are things that the Lockers didn't do, and we were very ambidextrous. He goes, "You guys got the moves. I love you guys. Now you got to become yourself." And so that's what the Lockers taught us. That body maxing and chain reaction that we didn't have, if I'm honest, And so when Shabadoo said, "You guys look like clones," he didn't get an argument from me. He wanted me to debate. No. I was like, no. There was that next level where we had to get with the originals and learn that little clip that you saw. It's a trip that it just all came full circle to you. He's like, this is what it's really about. You can see because you have moves, but then you can see the music within the move. That's it, man. That's utopia. Good job.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, that was the first thing I saw apart from the whole coolness of lads, the rockers in sequence dancing. But that was, and rewind. Because as lockers, as you know, the whole looking around character, we were told we had to have the moves are clean and put some sort of character in it, which was hard, like you said, as you're dancing in a routine with someone. The character will come out when you do your solo. And when I saw that clip, he had everything. He had the character, the power, the fire. That little clip, that dance, it told a whole story. For me.
What people don't realize, and I don't know if you know, is that Jazzy was actually in a group with the Lockers were trying to get a rap group. I forget their name, but it was Fluky Luke, Greg, I think Ronnie Rob, and
Deputy Dog.
Yeah, and they were terrible rappers, but the dancing was incredible. So it was one of those things where it was really good to be around them. Whenever I had a chance, I was all over those guys to find out what that secret sauce that you're talking about was. And so like I said, I didn't get that from where my beginnings was, but I was like you, Kang. I was hungry. I was gonna get with the Lockers and get inside the dance. I wanted my brain to be in there and to distinguish myself from my dance partners. Me and Anthony used to do duets, and my name's Kleen, but Anthony is like precise on a whole nother level. He's probably he's definitely on my Mount Rushmore of locking. You know, I look up to that guy a lot, the way maybe Stewie looks up to you. But I had to kind of divorce his style so that I didn't lock like him. And Stewie will tell you, I said, you learn from these people, but once you start getting a handle of things, you have to divorce them to become yourself. And what you did by doing that says everything I need to know about you.
Well,
you know, that's
yeah.
You're going
I have to agree there. I think Anthony is one of the greatest of all time. And I'm so happy that he's with Juice Taboo now, because there was a good sort of 2 decades where a lot of people were poo-pooing anything that came after the 70s. They felt that locking was like trapped in the 70s, and they were trying to rebrand it as some kind of 70s dance, disregarding all of the amazing locking throughout the 80s and 90s and in the future. So yeah, like to see that Anthony has come back, and that you're and Kang now has come back, and that this, you know, later generation of locking is being like recognized again is like, it's filling me with so much excitement, because, you know, for me, like that LA Rockers, that Valley style, like you call, for me, that's some of the most exciting locking, you know, and that, you know, Kang, I get the feeling that, would you agree, Kenny, that that the UK is very much like a Valley style kind of locking with Jimmy Williams? Like,
when I look at Jim, well, that's the name you said. When I saw Jimmy Williams, I was like, how in the hell? And I did understand that he came out here and took some classes, but apparently this guy's been watching long before that. And Kang as well. You know, when I see you guys, I'm like, there's just no way. And just, you know, how you have to be healthily obsessed with it to get that cleanliness. Also, the combinations in terms of the Valley guys are some of my favorite. You know what I mean? And it's funny. I want to hear what your guys. I'm going to share with you. Me and Flo had a discussion last weekend. We were at an event. And Flo's, one of his original teachers was Richie Rich. And he got a good handle of the Valley style. But once he met Greg, that was it. That's the Bible of locking. So he went more towards the Camelot style. And he would always get frustrated with me when I would do the Valley style. I said, but you're looking at routines. I said, when it comes to the routines or in a group, that's the style I do. I won't Campbell lock until I hit my solo to distinguish myself and be different from my group. And so it's just those cleanliness and the combinations have always, to me, been at a high level. But to be an individual, I do the lockers, and he goes, and he gets frustrated because he was like, almost like he doesn't want me to like the locker style because, you know, the lockers are the Bible of locking. And I said, well, that's my take on it. And I totally respect what you say, but I just like the combinations. I like the cleanliness type of a crew. But he says, I hold locking, the Valley style, responsible for some of the mishaps of locking that's going on now. Because everybody's trying to do lock very fast, double time. Most people don't know how to Campbell lock. It's a very rare when you see people that can Campbell lock, even in their solos. And my answer to him was an argument. I said, well, no, you're right. The problem with the Valley style and doing stuff that Chain Reaction and the Rockers did, well, they can't control it. They don't have their technique correct. So it's just one speed, and it's just a lot of moves. They're not really listening to the music. They muscle points. That's not the Valley style's fault, but they're not getting the proper instruction to know that they're doing all this stuff, pacing with their head. It's a bad reflection of that style. It's not the Valley style's fault, but in a sense, what he's talking about, everybody just doing a bunch of fast combinations. I understand what he's saying, because people are more doing the Valley style around the world, trying to, I'm not saying doing it, than the Campbell lock style. The Campbell lock style breathes a lot more. There's a lot more time. Yeah. Like when you were talking about you're in a lock position, you can go up, you can go down, you can go sideways. There's that control that I like the Valley style because I was good, because I was slow learning. I could be technical, but I had to learn how to control it, and I had to learn application. That's what a lot of people aren't doing. The way you have control, the way that you're not rushing or you're late, you have your foundation in place. So when people don't have foundation, the Valley style is going to be very challenging, because you have to have a lot of moves. and it's double time. You don't have as much time to breathe as the cam block style. So I understand what he's saying, but I don't know if he understands what we're saying in terms of it's really not the style's fault. It's about the end of, like, when I see you guys dancing, like, that's not an easy style to learn. It's very difficult for you guys to get that information and get control of double time because there's a lot of moves and you had to be ambidextrous. I see you do using both arms, you know? And so I'm very impressed that, you know, people overseas were able to be in control and have their foundation in their technique and not bleed or muscle moves. So I understand what Flo's saying because everybody's trying to do a style, but unlike you guys, that's a hard style to learn. Does that resonate with you in terms of what's going on?
It was very, you know what? It was very hard. I get that totally. I totally get that. I mean, to do, like you said, both hands, same time, ambidextrous, like you said, that wasn't easy. That wasn't easy. You know, being strong with one, for instance, on your right hand side, and to be just as sharp as your left. You know, the scoops I found very hard to do with my left first. To get that leg right up and to bring it across, very hard to do. You know, and I remember just practicing until I could do like 3 scoops on the trot and make it look just as good as my right.
Yeah. And when you're seeing locking today, I don't see the discipline that you guys had, or even in the early Stewie, when you were in the game, early 2000, and you guys were disciplined. What did Bruce Lee say? He goes, I'm not afraid of the person that has 1,000 moves. I'm afraid of the person that does 10,000, they'll move 10,000 times. And obviously you guys were making sure that you weren't muscling, that you had a good recoil.
Yeah.
These are things that people don't talk about. You think you can just throw Uncle Sam points out. Yeah. Just as good as it go out, it's got to come back in good as well.
That's right. Just a basic, simple point. You know, when you look at someone just from the point and how he throws and how he gets there, you can tell just a lot from just that, what you said, you know, the character and how hard it is for just to do that. Just the Lockers point to get it right. I wish I could be there. Just to get it right and to stand right and to make it look the way it's meant to be, you know. And with obviously the baseline of the funk, and now trying to put something extra on top. What we talk about, we need a word for that. I need a word for that.
When I look at you guys and the people in the early 2000s, I'm not seeing that as much in terms of the value of technique. Except for with Asia, wow. And me and Studies have to, and some of the girls in Russia, with the exception of Zeus in America, who's from Mexico, Lady C, amazing. But it's very rare when you see people that have that control that you guys had. Stewie as well. When I saw, I think he placed 3rd in a contest, I was like, how did that little shit get there? It's not easy to do that style and be clean and tight.
Because of Kang, man, because of the UK, because of all of I mean, and thank you, Kenny. But honestly, I didn't realize at the time of how fortunate I was to be around people like Kang and Jimmy Williams, Pat Cesar, that there was a movement in UK of like really stylish dancers that really loved it. And I don't know if the community is still there now. I know that Jimmy's still rocking. And I sometimes see clips. There's a few guys, Tommy, who does his classes, a few guys. Really great stuff is still coming out of the Pineapple Center, but I'm not really involved with too much of the locking battles that are happening these days. But I know that you are, Kenny. Do you see any battles or anything that's happening that's worth talking about?
I'm at in terms of the states. I'm at all of them. That's in my proximity, and proximity is an important word for this culture. You know, be where it's at. You know, and. So when I saw a freestyle session, a lot of times Anthony and Bruce at Just a Boo had a sit down, and fair to say that locking as of lately has suffered more than the other. Like you look at Poppin', the way it's evolved in the States, it's amazing. Very good hand. You have Slim, all the Boogie Brothers, you know, all those cats. Locking outside of Zeus and Lady C, maybe Joy the Jam. There's people, it's very struggling, and in some parts of the world as well. So, you know, they're trying to figure out how to bring people being prolific. When I look at you guys on stage, you guys were professionals. You were prolific dancers. your professional lockers. And so that is suffered compared to the other art forms. And so, you know, here's the thing, and you guys share with me. I look at somebody like Jimmy Williams. I don't understand why in Europe that guy isn't the biggest guy out there. He's so good at what he does. He's so educated and has done the work as you guys have. I think it's went to other people where they do sets. They're not really freestyling, and they don't have the technique and control that he does. So Europe has suffered in lock-in. You have people that are famous, but they're not like Gemini, Scrabble, Flow, like your guys' generation, or even what you guys were doing on stage years ago. And so that's fallen to the wayside. And trust me, I don't want to be an OG hater. When it comes to people being good, as you guys, I'm on board. I'm really ready to celebrate who's out there doing really good things. There's a kid named Neko Flex who is going to start killing it. He has a really good interpretation of style. And he's great. He's going to, but it's a shame that he's not famous yet. He'll get there. But, you know, maybe people like Anthony be back in the scene and you guys coming back in the scene. You are what you eat. So probably one of the reasons why I haven't retired yet is because I don't care what dope popping circle. And Stu, you're familiar. I'll go right up in that popping circle and I'll let them know Lock-in's still here. It's not what I say, you know, and I don't want to say names, but it's they don't care what I've done past. They don't care about my trajectory. It's all about what I'm doing now, and they see. And if they see, you know, people bleeding moves and muscling points, they're going to do the same thing. So when I hear you guys maybe coming back out, they got to be fed that. It's going to be a real challenge for Lock-in.
That needs to. You're 100% right. 100% right. I totally agree. Needs to be seen. Some of the, like, I've been from scrolling on social and watching, I think even older lock-in battles from the early 2000s, even now. I haven't seen nothing special from that. Like you're just saying, no flair, no like anything extravagant at all. To be fair with you, I think there's one crew, and I keep forgetting the names that I've seen. This is one fella. I'll have to kind of put it on a link somewhere because I'm not good with names. I think
there's a group called the Hood Lockers in Philadelphia who me and Stewie like. They're doing great work, so I want to make sure that I show them.
Right, you could be talking about the same guys. I think I'm probably talking about
because you know,
right?
We
I'm not. See, I need to educate my name.
Like
I've seen something real and seen some fire. I'm like, wow, actually, there it is. There it is again. There it is. It's come again.
Why the Hood Lockers are so dope? Definitely, all respect to the Hood Lockers. Is why because they became lockers in London. They were working in London doing a show.
You told me that.
Yeah, man, it was in London that they really picked up the locking sword. So, you know, I have to add that. But yeah, man, Marcus, Drew, all them cats, man. Hussein, love you boys, man.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Also,
so, okay, so I'm hearing names.
Named Aqua Boogie, who,
Aqua Boogie to watch out for, yeah?
Yeah, he's a good dude. Him and his wife, Goldilocks, they're fantastic.
Okay.
Again, we're talking about older people. Sometimes I get frustrated when I go online outside from Asia and Russia. I'll be happy when I see their discipline. They seem to have more of the work ethic that you guys have. They train.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that makes me, because they're getting the kids when they're little, when they're young.
Oh,
I sent a clip to Stewie with this brother who was my maybe older brother, 7 years old, teaching his sister to lock, and she has her baby teeth.
Yeah,
she didn't even have her real teeth yet.
Maybe.
What?
I'll have
so cute.
Stewie send it to you. It's incredible.
I can pull it up here if you want, man. Oh, it's an incredible clip, man.
And I can't get a
little baby locking
over here.
No way. Yeah. Really?
I mean,
wow.
It's different.
That's crazy.
So when I
that control. Wow.
Oh yeah.
Because of the discipline.
But definitely that's the future is China, man. Because I think they were in China. Is that the Asians, man? They are embracing locking and running with it. So certainly, like here in America, people don't really care about American art forms, but Asia certainly does.
I'm seeing a lot coming from that way. Yeah, great. It's massive out there, right? Massive.
Well, all the OGs.
It's great to see interest.
don't even come home, you know, because they're so obsessed with learning right now, and they're willing to spend money and time and energy in these art forms. And I just don't see the same hunger like that. It's like they're different. There was a student that Jazzy had, and I taught him his name's Alan One, and the kid travels out to meet me, takes me to dinner, buys me gifts. Stewie's starting to experience that with the Chinese right now. It's like they take it very seriously, and so I shared, and it's like I have to be careful to say this stuff, but it's like people get upset with me because I'm telling the truth. A lot of these Asian countries are coming over here to these contests like Freestyle Session, and they're taking the bag. And so you get America saying, well, this dance is being gentrification. And I was like, what's our fault? Like, if you don't want to be gentrified, put that work in that Kang and Stewie and Gemini and Flo and all those, you know, that generation was strong. And so I, you know, sometimes I'll just post. I just sent Stewie a clip where there's Bam Bams on it, and then there's Jazzy, and then there's Cool Pockets, and myself. Nobody cares about me, but I just wanted people to see these guys are 60 years old. Of course, we don't have a lot of flips and back flips, and you know, Richie used to do that flip. We were very acrobatic, but in terms of the dance, like I think these kids are very allured by the power moves. So they're doing a lot of, you know, acrobatics and air efforts. But when I look at you, what keeps you relevant to me, Kang, Stewie, is the dance itself. That's why you guys will be 60 years old, just like I posted that footage, and be able to kill it. To be able to walk into any cipher without any fear. The dance itself is what keeps you relevant. Power moves, I'm 63 years old. That's going to go away at some point, Kang. I'm sure you're not as flexible as Stewie, you know. Because we're older.
No way. No, yeah,
but
no
the
way.
Dance,
flexible as doing that way.
The dance, that's what I look for. The control, the technique, the knowledge, the history, it's all in there. I don't worry about somebody like you.
Yeah. That's great to hear. Great to hear. Coming from you, Kleen. Coming from you, Kleen, that means a lot. Honestly, you know, really means a lot, and really appreciate it. You know, and yeah, and I'm glad we took it to that point where, you know, about having your individual character and being clean, you know, at the same time. Yeah, wow.
This is Bam Bam we got right here. This is a clip that Kenny was mentioning. So, yeah, I mean, Anthony Bam Bam Thomas and Richie Rich, like one of my main teachers right here. But this is just really this
60
clip
and up.
I mean, just highlighting that.
So who's this dude? Is this dude? I've seen this guy. Yeah, look at this guy.
That's Richie
right.
Rich. He's our original.
That's Richie
teacher.
Rich. That's right. Yeah.
And Jazzy, who you were talking about, brother. This is the flavor that you were on.
Man, he's my flavor man right there. That's right. Oh wow. How comes I haven't seen this before?
I'll send it to you.
That's Cool Pockets. I can tell from there. Yeah, that's Cool Pockets. Yeah. Yeah, look at the shapes. Clean. Sharp. Look at that. Bam. Yeah, I need to get sent some more footage. I need to get sent some of this.
Oh, this guy's old right here. This is an old man.
I know who that is straight away, man. That flow, that character. Again, see, straight away, it's there. It's there.
It's Latin vibe, man. Yeah, brother.
It's there. It's there.
So this is what we're looking for. This is what we want to see. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's right. That's right. I'm so happy that, like, you know, man, that we recognize this. We recognize this, and that is brilliant that we have. You know, we have done that, and to see what the dance is, the top people. You know, the top of what the top is, and what we see the top. We're at the same level on that.
And what I want to share with people is that when it comes to seeing these younger generations surpass us, we're on board. I have no
100%
passing the baton, but you got to
100%.
It's not that we want to hate. We just want you to take the dance, learn it, and then evolve it. Not evolve it, then learn it.
That's right. That's right.
It's a frustration. It's like we don't want to be haters. We're on board, but until we see that control and that knowledge of dance, it could be frustrating sometimes for guys that are older like ourselves.
And it's something that needs to be. Yeah, you look good. You look good for your age. It's that sun, man. We need that sun. I tell you, in England, it's not good, man. But yeah, 100% right about that. To see that and um, having that character and that soul and having that hard work and putting that work in and then to recognize, like you said, for the dance and what you want to do with it and recognizing what it is. Um, it is the foundations first of how you want to take it, right? Okay.
Yeah.
What we're seeing now a lot of again are just moves, right? People just coming with moves,
Move.
sending in lockers, just moves. They're just moves
Speed.
that someone has with speed to put together and do that and then name them out. I'm seeing that a lot, and I'm not seeing no soul or no fire since probably the Janet Jackson art video with Jazzy and what you just showed me now, the Philadelphia crew you just talked about, right? Is that
Yeah.
that? But and it's crazy that we just talked about that, and we need to see more. And it's interesting to hear that the locking scene is probably going down up there.
Well,
It's sad.
it's there's a lot of lockers, but in terms of the level where popping is
Okay,
evolving, and
okay,
it's
okay.
suffering according to.
It's suffering. It's suffering.
And
Yeah,
I
yeah.
recognize when I see people, there's a lot of discomfort in their dance because they lack the control that you like. When I see you guys dance, you guys know what you're doing. You have
Yeah,
knowledge and control, and you have the desire to ask questions and learn. Whatever you had to do, you were gonna. I need to figure this out. I don't care if it takes me that urgency to learn. Uh, like there was a kid. I teach more people online through DMs than my own country.
uh,
I work with this girl named Kate Ding Ding, who's really blowing up in the locking scene. A kid named Wrist Lock, and I don't know if he's in China or Japan, but he's a champion. These people are with a
uh,
girl named Double and Nako Flex just hit me up. When people have that desire, they reach out. Like when Stewie got his hands on this and started coming to America, okay, let me find out what this is really and go farther, go deeper, you know? And
mm,
so I don't see the urgency. Like I said, there's people that are around me, and the people that are asking me questions are from other countries.
Mhm.
That to me is sad.
But you do have a student though, right, Roxana? She's with you.
But she's from Romania.
Yeah,
She's
that's true.
that Eastern European
yeah,
work ethic is strong. Zeus is
yeah.
from Mexico. Lady C is from Canada.
Yeah.
So where are the it's the birthplace of street dancing is America, United States, California.
Well, I was
And
telling you the other day, brother, that I went around every dance studio in Columbus, Ohio. Nobody was interested, but a Chinese dance school, they were like, "Oh, this is great. Come in here." So, like, yeah, man, we'll go where the interest is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Well, that's right. That's right.
where they're showing you
That's
love,
right.
give them love. And so let me give you a scenario real quick, just to show you the urgency for China to learn. This kid Wrist Lock, he comes out here and his air attack, like he's young, he's got them young legs. He's got this great air attack. I ran into him at Soul Source, and he's a flyer, caboose. That's what we used to call people like us who were kind of acrobatic. And he's very impressive and has a good idea of the foundation. But this kid's watching me. And, at this point, I think I'm already like 59, 60 years old, and I'm just locking. I'm not doing anything fancy. I'm just in the pocket, and he's looking at me. And so I get ready to leave, and he's just like very respectful, bows and said, "Master, where are you going tomorrow?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, there's this jam at a barcade. Me and probably won't be a lot of people there, but I'm just gonna go work because I'm always working." Stu, to tell you, showed up early, left late. Just watch me. And he's like, "Where are you going next week?" So this kid, I don't know how these kids have money, but he's out here for 3 months, following me around to every club and just watching. And I know what he's doing is people used to watch you and Stewie Kane. It is what it is. 1 year later, he's following me on Instagram and he's showing me these contests. And I'm just like, "That's real good." And he's like, and it took him a year, and he goes, "Any advice?" Because Stu would tell you, unless you ask, I'm not going to impose my education on you. In LA, we have all these OGs that try to force their education on people. Look, if you don't like what I'm going to do, you're not going to be interested in what I have to say. So I waited and I said, "Okay, let's go to work." So I started DNMing some of the techniques where in Asia, they tend to lock very big you know, muscle man up, big long points. I said, you need to learn how to lock small. You can do up, you can do it down. You need to be more ambidextrous. And I just started through DMs. He's not even here. That's how learned they are. That's how much, like the way you guys love it, they're like that. They're different. When I look at you, Lock, I know what you were doing because I was doing the same thing. I was looking for every resource, had to find the club and the people that could do this dance. And back in the day, it was different. We have a very PC, I think this, I don't want to be negative, but we have a very PC culture. It's very soft, where people won't tell you you're garbage if you're garbage. They'll let you think that you're doing things right. If you're doing things wrong, they'll let you know. You know, get it
That's the school we're from. That's the school we're from. That's the school we're from. Yeah.
And so I go home crying, I'm never gonna fuck with these guys again, you know. And I'm right back there every time, learning, learn, whatever it took. And like right now, they, you know, oh, that was good, you know, and maybe it wasn't. You know what I mean? I think maybe that's part of the component. Like if you look at, and Stu will tell you, and Anthony will tell you too, like we would love to work with Cool Pockets and those guys when we work on things. And we'll never tell you that they're great dancers, but they get kind of, I think on the documentary, Kenny Ortega was talking about how he was going around Xanadu, and you know, there was a heavy gay community in the school dancers. And he was telling them, aren't you guys worried about you're going to go to hell because you're living this lifestyle? You know, and Cool Pockets was one of those guys that didn't mess with words. He would just tell you what it is.
Drama, man.
And, well, you know, I don't know what else, but it wasn't very nice back in the day. And I think that's where you guys got some of your toughness and gumption to learn this dance, because people were going to give it to you straight. Where this PC culture, well, don't be negative. Well, and I won't ever tell somebody to be negative, but Stewie wants the smoke when he works with me, and I assume the same thing. You want the truth. Am I doing it right or am I doing it wrong? Which one is it? And I think we've softened up the culture in terms of locking, because people are not. There's people that are bleeding moves, muscling moves. They're offbeat. Like one of my friends was upset with Richie because during the contest he was clapping to show the lockers offbeat. It is kind of mean. It's a frustration with the older guys too. Like, that's not cool. I don't care, because how can you be in a contest and be offbeat, and then maybe you grab your leg like Stewie and that blow up move wins you to the next round.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have got away with that. We would have let you know that, hey, it's more important than a blow up move is to be in the pocket and understand the dance. So
Exactly.
I don't know. What's your take on it? There's something.
I'm straight on board with that. Straight on board, man. Straight on board with that. It should be, how it's shown the dance, the control, the enjoyment for it, and to see the passion come out with all that kind of, like you said, ambidextrous training with the right, left. It's easy to see someone who knows. Right, like you said, it's easy to see that, you know, and you can tell their story straight away from 4 steps, what they've done, you know, and see, from when we were learning it as teenagers, and the footage we were getting, right, we were hunting out hard, so we were finding out a lot more than your average, say, popper or breaker was looking for. And when we come against other rivals, when we're coming into these clubs, all we knew about the styles of locking or breaking was New York and LA.
Yeah.
Because there were 2 films in the UK that got released, and it was Breakdance and Beat Street.
Oh, wow.
And Beat Street was New York, right? Yeah.
Yes.
And so it was what was funny was when we were watching other dancers, we're like, New York, they watched Beat Street, and they did. They got everything from Beat Street, and then in the UK, what was happening was we were kind of getting the New York and LA thing happening,
100%.
Just because of the 2 films. Yeah, just because of the 2 films. And I remember seeing a locking style. I think the only time I did actually it was a popper, and he was the what we call the Beat Street New York side popper in the UK. He was popping, and I think a couple of moves come out from over here.
Yeah.
Everything come from here. And a friend of mine said, "Oh, look, it's just locked." I went, "What? Was that locking? Was that popping?" Everything was from over here. So that's all we knew about styles was New York or LA, and that's all we knew.
It's funny you bring that up because I had a discussion with Pop and Pete. I interviewed him because he's a hero of mine, and we're talking about it. Just like there's a period right now where locking's kind of suffering. I think the movie era is where popping suffered a little bit because of the music, the electro music. Like we danced at the time. It was called funk and soul music. R&B hadn't really happened yet, but that was the next, the R&Bs that we went into. Electro was very very fast, really rigid, and so a lot of the people from that electro generation, we weren't in those movies. We weren't dancing to that music. That was kind of like the entertainment business putting an East Coast sound and slang on the West Coast in terms of the funk style. We didn't dance to the music. We didn't dress like that. We didn't talk like that. That was BS. But when people see the powerful vehicle of television, say, "Oh, that's what it is. We're going to start popping and locking into electro music." Lockers and poppers didn't dance to electro music. And people to this day, they're like, "Kenny, how come you don't?" I don't hate on electro. I mean, Taco and Bob and Andre, there's people that do that very well. It just wasn't soulful and funky. I just didn't like it.
I heard
back in the day, we didn't dance to that. But the movie said, this is what popping and locking's about. And so popping
it's the producers.
And so there's a generation of me and Stu were talking pop lock culture that said the term pop locking is really two different dances. When they said pop lock, it was people from my generation who studied the lockers and studied the boogaloos, and we did both. But that became the umbrella term for popping. So that whole generation after me, the people that are around 50 years old, the pop lock culture, are very upset about my generation and the people that killed it with Michael, with Captain EO and Janet with the All Right videos. They're upset that we didn't. There's kind of a blame game that we didn't put them on, so to speak, for the movies and shows and videos and all that stuff. And I think it's very disingenuous because maybe they didn't get picked to do stuff. And they're like, "Well, I know those guys." And I said, "Yeah, we all did. Look, I wanted to be in Captain EO. I'm sure you wanted to be in Captain EO. It was you had Taco, you had, Hugo, you had, the Booyah, people from the Booyah tribe, you had Jazzy, you had
Ski Rabbit.
Everybody wanted to be in that video. I don't blame them for, me and Anthony was like, we wanted to be in there with them too. And so when it comes to blaming the lockers and the boogaloos and people that got put in with that whole Michael era, I blame them for inspiring me to get off my ass and make those jobs happen. I don't know how it was for you guys, but it's very much about hard work, which you guys do. And like London, it seemed proximity. You got to be wherever it's at. That helps out amazing. This is what I tell people. Wherever that what you're going after, be around it. And be around people that do it at a high level. And it's going to slip into you. And so before I did anything, my first gig, everybody assumes I got my first gig from Anthony. That's just not true. And that I had representation. That's not true. The rockers used to dance, and you probably saw footage with Puma. And so they were doing industrials first. Because we weren't getting the gigs with Michael Jackson. They created their own source of income. And so my first job, I worked for Vaughn's, a grocery store, and they bought out Alpha Beta in the United States. And so I started doing shows where they did grand openings, and I would get a crew of people. This is my first professional gig. And we started doing shows right in front of the stores for impulse sales. You know what I mean? And I probably didn't charge as much as I should have, but I was trying to be like the rockers and trying to be like the boogaloos and the lockers. And then I think Terry saw me at a club locking, and the white boy rockin' Terry, who choreographed All Right in the Janet Jackson video, he got my first gig called Dancing at the Blue Iguana. It was a movie pilot, and Bruno was in it, and my buddy Taps was in it. So he got me my first Hollywood entertainment job.
I'd love to see
But
that.
the only reason why these things happen is because I was inspired by these guys that work with Michael. And so you got all these people mad at those guys because they're the top of the food chain. They teach all over the world. And so it's their fault. No, it's their fault that I got to be around the people that work with Janet, and it inspired me to go after these gigs. And then somehow you just get, like, for Stewie to be around you inspired him to go after things, you know. And don't blame, get off your butt, learn the dance, and then things are just magically going to happen. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Like you said, get out there, get in the scene, the top people, see what it's about. If you really want to, you know, push it out, push it to your own limits, you have to. There's no way you're not going to get nowhere without that. You know, 100%. I agree with you totally.
So you're back now, Kang? You're training, you're back, you're going to stay locking?
I'm for my own sake, I'm going to put some, I want to clean up my moves, right? And what's interesting is I would love to go out and see what the locking scene in the UK. At the minute right now, Flexy, you know more than I do at the minute because I've been out of it. So I'm going to start looking around and seeing what it's about, and to see if there's any magic, that fire that we've been speaking about. If I see anything like that about, I would let you know. I would let you know if I see that, and I will 100%.
Saturday at the Pineapple. Jimmy Williams is there every 12 a.m. every Saturday. Like Kenny,
you know what I'm about
to say, when can we get back to America, man?
Oh man, you know that'd be brilliant. I've never been to Pineapple. I think I've crossed paths with Jimmy a few times back in the day. Because was he with the House of the Quiet Storm?
Yeah,
Jimmy. He was with Pat back in the day. So we got close to Pat. Yeah, you know, the guy from The Word we were talking about, and we were getting a lot of information from him and stuff like that. But no, I've never been to Pineapple. And you know, Flexy here, he brought that passion back. When I got into the kind of barbarian, with the whole kind of politics, I had a love-hate relationship with the dance. I loved it, I hated it, and now the love has come back, you know, and in a big way. All right, this is what it was for me, and especially seeing out there some videos of terrible, like, which I think, you know, bad locking, right? And seeing that kind of made me depressed. Like, okay, is that what like it's gone to now? And okay, you know what? I'm going to stay away from the scene for a bit and concentrate on, you know, at the time I was getting a business and buying a house, stuff like that kind of thing. But look, just speaking to Flexy and speaking to you right now, you know, and now I'm and just hearing your side of what you see from the dance, and it's the same level as, it's the same thing. It's the same. Has made me now think, right, I know what good looking is for starters. Yeah,
I need you to feed
you're up there.
This art form.
You're up there with me. So you know, yeah, and because you're just saying the same things I'm saying, and you're looking out for the same thing I'm looking at. Now I know I'm at the right place with it. Okay, in my head, well, what I want to show people and what I want to teach people. Yeah, so. And just having you and Flexy on my side agreeing on that, I will go out and I'd love to push that across and see that. Okay? And to see that and push that 100%. So I'm going to go out to Pineapple Studios. Yeah, I'm going to go out to Pineapple Studios, and I want to get my shit down hard, you know, every time, because I'm my worst own critic every time. And let's see what's out there, man. And I want to put some feedback in what the locking scene is like in the UK.
Stewie's right. You need to link up with Jimmy Williams because he'll see what I see. He has a trained eye.
Of course.
Number one has to happen.
Of course.
You gotta understand, and Stewie will understand this too. Be careful of the politics. There's ways. I can tell both of you guys are very mindful when you speak, so don't worry about that. You'll be able to move into it. The reason why people hate the Boogaloos and the Campbell, you know, have frustration with the Lockers, not the Lockers as much, but the Boogaloos, is because these groups had a common language and they had a foundation that was named that could be learned. So these are the most popular funk styles in the world because if everybody knows what an up is, everybody knows what a lock is, everybody knows what a pace is, you know, iron horse and skeeter rabbits and stop and goes. These things were named and they gave you to learn something. You know what I mean? Same with the boogaloos. These people are mad at the boogaloos because they didn't get to work with Michael Jackson or Janet Jackson. It's like they needed to, like I could jump in with you and make up a routine. When you look at the footage of me and Richie Rich dancing, we make up those routines in 15 minutes. We learn it in 15 minutes. Then we spend a half hour on cleaning it up and then we film it. And people are like, oh my God, you guys are clean and tight. We're not clean and tight because of that day. We're clean and tight because of the history and how long we've been putting work into this. I can make up, he'll tell you, I can make up a routine with either one of you guys in 15 minutes because you guys have done that training. So when I work with people, I don't want to work with people where I see some of these lock-in roots working on a routine for a week or a month. I don't have time for that. I have to be able, you have to have enough foundation to pull you on a project. If you don't know your history, you don't have your foundation, I don't have time to give you that time. When I'm doing professional shows, I'm lucky if we're getting paid for 2 rehearsals. That's with a big budget. Like if you're with Janet or Priority Act, you get a couple paid rehearsals. So you got to be able to pick it up and do it now. So when Jimmy sees or you guys see people, you can recognize they have control of the style. They understand the style. Those are the people that get picked for gigs. And if you don't have that, don't blame people for your trajectory. Don't blame people for your career. If I see you, let's go. We're going to link up, go to Richie Rich's house, and we'll spit out a routine within an hour and have it clean.
Oh man, that would be a dream of mine to be in a routine with you boys at Richie's house. We've got to do that one day. But we've been going like an hour and a bit now. Like if we can wrap it up, I just want to say thank you, Mr. Kleen, Kang, for all of the lock-in that you've given me, but also that all you've put out to the world. You fellas have influenced so many lockers. So please, I just want to hand it to you. The last thing before we sign off, Mr. Kleen.
I appreciate you guys for taking the baton and really learning the art form. Like I said, when I see your technique and your control, that's the most important. That's what's going to keep you guys relevant and keep you going, you know. And I don't know what the bar is. I'm 63. I plan on doing this till I'm at least 70. And you need to, both you guys need to keep on and sharing this art form because it almost died at once. It was almost gone. So, like I said, you know, I need you guys to be soldiers in this fight against, you know, let's get it back strong again. You know, you have no idea the impact that you guys will have. That's it.
On that, Roger that, Roger that, Mr. Kleen. We're on that, 100%. You know, and just hearing that from you has made my, you know, my motivation of, it's got a rocket boost up there now.
Yeah, you know what you're 100%. Doing.
Yeah. And just hearing you say that, you know, when we spoke about, you know, that what I was looking for, and bam, you knew instantly. Wow, there it is. Just for your recognition of that, you know, I'm at a much like place where, right, okay, I'm going to take it now. Because I've got a good person just told me this. He's on the same board. So yeah, we're going through, man. We're going to do this.
Stewie, and answer me this, like, in terms of the state, I got so frustrated where I had to take a Romanian girl because the work ethic is strong to train, to dance and do videos with. I had to teach somebody how to lock, not from scratch because she would take Anthony's classes. But I've said that classes don't really teach you, routines don't teach you how to do locking. You have to break everything down. And so Rich, you know, Stu just shared with me, he's got a student now, and it's that Chinese work ethic. Now he can start showing the world by doing routines and being together in tightness, you know, being more prolific. So you know, if you can train one of your kids or train a student, just so you can put product out there and they can
That's right.
that.
Definitely.
That's right.
I'm throwing footage out of 60-year-old guys and they're killing it.
We need Sangha. The congregation is so important, man.
It needs to be done. It's a revolution. It needs to be done to bring it back, to show the world this is what it is. Not just move, you know, the real deal. Okay.
Well, this
100%.
conversation, I mean, guys like us could talk forever, but we should really wrap it up. But we can definitely come back on and do another one in the future.
Cool.
Like when we've got some more footage to show, like maybe when I've got a bit, you've got a bit of lock-in, if we can come back and we can show some stuff. But yeah, definitely, anyone watching this in the future, please reach out to Kang or Kleen or myself.
Yeah.
And let's just keep this conversation of lock-in rolling, because we're all in this together. And as I like to say, one lock, man. Irrelevant of the Star Valley, Star, Orange County, Japan, France. We're all lockers. We're all in this together. So definitely one lock.